Today, I'm gonna go see the original epic home studio setup. That's right, the original. Okay, so this is the last studio tour of this year. So if you've enjoyed watching them, then of course, smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to if you want to see the insanity that is to come next month. It's gonna be fun, or it's gonna be something. Okay, so Colt Capperrune. Colt is a musician, an engineer, a producer, and a guy who also does those things and makes YouTube videos. So if you haven't seen his channel, I'll link his channel down in the description with all of the other links. Also, shout out to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. If you guys are curious about gear or looking for any of the stuff that you see in either of our rooms, the links to everything that I use is down in the description. Also, I'm gonna pick a couple of my favorite pieces of Colt Studio and link that down in the description as well. Thank you, Sweetwater, for sponsoring all of these videos. Also, if you're a member, you can go to ANDREWMASTERSmusic.com and check out some of the behind the scenes after the studio tour of Colt showing me his crazy guitar setup and his ISO cab. It's really cool. If you're not a member, you can go sign up at ANDREWMASTERSmusic.com. And yeah, let's go to Colt's. Let's go to Colt's. All right, so I've been wanting to see this room. I saw your build. You did your build video. Oh, yeah. You did your build video, uploaded it as I was building my room.
Ours came out within like weeks of each other, right?
I think so, yeah. Very jealous because this room this is epic, right? it is an epic studio.
That was the name of my studio build video.
Not clickbait.
Thank you very much.
So tell me, before this space, you were in an apartment.
I was, yeah. My last space was in a 12-foot by 12-foot apartment bedroom.
Yeah.
And that was my first space when I first moved to town, and that was just all I could afford. So I had to move here and get it going. I had huge commercial space in Peoria, Illinois.
Right.
Where we're both from.
Heard of that, yeah.
And funny enough. And then when we came here, I just had to get a small space to get my feet under me, and then just worked my ass off until I could move out of there up.
What part of town was that in?
Bellevue.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we're in Bellevue. So then before building this place, I looked at a ton of commercial spaces. I probably looked at 30 rooms, like rooms on Music Row, like all over the place. And it was just so expensive. The best room that I found where I could like push my gear in and make records, it was like $3,600 a month for a room smaller than this.
With neighbors.
With neighbors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, that's a $2 million house. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And so we decided to build. And so
did you build the whole house?
Yeah, the whole house was from scratch, yeah. And so we chose the layout plan based on like trying to get a separate entrance, because that was a big part of it. I needed something that would separate my life from my work, and we could just get clients to come right in. That's such a big deal. Your place is like that. Did that, picked this layout, made some modifications to the layout, and then structurally it got a little crazy, because like this floor, I didn't want to do a floating floor. I don't want to get too crazy technical on this, but floating floors get really, really heavy. Yeah. And you really have to float like concrete in order for it to make any difference.
Sure.
So the middle ground was to layer up the floor. And so the floor is 3/4 inch plywood, layer of green glue, layer of 5/8 drywall, layer of green glue, layer of 3/4 inch plywood, and then hardwood.
Whoa.
And then, so when I told the builders that's what I wanted to do, they ran the numbers and they said that it would be an extra like 6,000 pounds of weight.
Oh yeah.
So then it got into the structural side of things. So now there's huge beams, and like the floor joists are all doubled and tripled up. And there's videos of that on the channel. Yeah, it was the only way on a second story floor. I wanted it to be as dead as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
There's so much space here that 20 hertz would just go wild in the floor if it wasn't dampened like that.
Yeah.
So
24 by 26?
Yeah.
Whoa.
12-foot ceilings.
And 12 foot in the center, which it's notably a very wide center. A lot of these bonus rooms cut in very close to the middle, so you lose a lot of that volume of the room, and this is wonderfully wide. How big is that cloud?
It's 8 by 11.
Oh my God. So it's 8 deep.
8 foot by 11 foot wide, yeah.
Wow.
And the goal with that was just to cover all of the flat center with the cloud, so that way there would be no slap. And you know, like nothing's ever finished. There's gonna be a second cloud here. And I kind of got stopped because there was gonna be a booth right there, and the YouTube channel started taking off. And so that ended up being where I film a lot of YouTube videos.
Yeah, there's so much space in here.
And so it's just like, I didn't finish the back half of the treatment because of that. And now that I know that this is gonna be for making videos, that needs to get finished up.
How much time did you spend? Like the house took what,
it took
6
like
months?
6 months, yeah, to build the house.
Was that
so
additional?
They did all the structural stuff, and like that room was like drywalled and framed out. But there was no like wet bar in there, and there was no like acoustic treatment, and I built the cloud. So basically when we got the keys to the house, it was just a finished like livable house. There wasn't like anything done. So then I spent 3 weeks doing all the acoustic treatment, building the cloud, electrical, you know, and then other stuff on the construction. Like I wanted to do everything that couldn't be done later when we built it. So like all the quad boxes or home runs to the panel so I could do isolating transformers. Like all the stuff that would be impossible to do later, I did when they built the house. Because that's the hard part about building a place like this from scratch. You have no idea what the power is gonna be like when you're done. It might be dirty, nasty power. And so then that way I could have done an isolating transformer if I needed to, which luckily the power here is awesome.
What was like some of the differences between going from that small room to a room like this?
Well, it was really weird because my space is, this is my 4th room. And so my space is back in Illinois. I had 2 commercial studios in Illinois.
Yeah.
The last one being like 3,600 square foot.
Wow.
So going from 3,600 square foot to a 12 foot by 12 foot bedroom when I moved here, and then back finally to a place that feels professional. It's weird because the apartment home studio thing was like, I made the best music of my career there.
Yeah.
Still, the highest charting song I've ever worked on happened in that room.
Yes.
And so, you know, I'm really grateful that it worked.
Yeah.
But this is so much better.
Yeah.
This is so much better. Yeah, so I will commonly have like a singer over there, an acoustic guitar player over here, and we can do like demos and work tapes like that with very little bleed over. The rest of it was, I play so much on so many of my productions. It's real common for me to be producing the whole thing, and I'm playing all the instrumentation, and I'm programming like everything besides drums. And so the goal was just, how can I do all that in a way that I never have to leave my seat and everything is instantly reachable. So like the guitar amps are always hooked up to the ISO cab. The ISO cab's always wired into the patch bay, which is almost always already hooked up to these preamps. So it's just like, oh, I'm cutting vocals. Oh, I need this guitar part. Flip, 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 grab a guitar, and we're going in 10 seconds. So I try to make everything as streamlined as possible. It's one of the things that I talk about a lot on my channel is how like the level of efficiency is the way that I've been able to make this successful.
Yeah. Is it what you thought it would be and more or less?
In here, I do literally everything except cut drums. So I cut drums somewhere else. I always go to some other studio or have a session player cut drums. And then everything else happens here. I produce the vocalist here. Whether or not I'm playing all the instrumentation or someone else is, depending on the group, if it's a band or an artist, they all do everything here. And then I mix here and I master here. As far as the space, this is nothing that I did, but the room is like unbelievably flat. It's like one of the flattest rooms I've ever been in. And that is just by chance. The dimensions of it just happened to work out that way. I did fully plan on putting a vocal booth there. But the room is so flat and so good sounding, I think making it not symmetrical. Is that asymmetrical or B-symmetrical or C-symmetrical? All of the above? I think it would screw the sound of the room up. And so between that corner being used for YouTube and the room being so good, I've decided to leave it there.
You got into this as a musician first or artist first?
Yeah, so my first record was 19 years ago. I'm so old. I'm so much older than anyone thinks. So we were just a bunch of broke high school kids and we didn't have money to go to a studio. Shout out Eric Nelson at Eclipse.
Oh, nice. In
back home. So we were gonna go to him, but it was like $5 grand to do a record and we did not have $5 grand.
Of course.
And so I worked at a music store, at Floors Music, And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I worked there for a long time.
Wow.
And so they let me put gear. It was the best and the worst thing ever for a young kid.
Yeah.
They let me put gear on an account and make payments. And it was a very short amount of time where I didn't get a paycheck from them.
Yeah.
My whole 50 hours a week went to them to pay off the gear.
Yeah.
And I made money from playing gigs and studio stuff. Anyway, so I put some studio equipment on a tab and produced our first record myself, and it went really well. And like 3 other bands that year had me do their records, and 3 or 4 other bands the next year, and it just kept going. And here I am, like a whole kid who can drink later, still doing this.
So I think this is I mean, you have a beautiful, I haven't even seen the house. You know, like this is just, I would live in here.
Thank you.
Sleep right here, you know.
Thank you.
These walls, is this all 709? Or what's it called?
So in here
Owens Corning?
is 8-pound mineral wool from Owens Corning.
Okay.
And so since I've done a bunch of rooms before, I've experimented with 703, 705, Echo Cell, and mineral wool. And bang for buck mineral wool is absolutely where it's at.
Okay.
Because it's way cheaper, and is basic 8-pound mineral wool is basically a 705 equivalent in terms of its sonic characteristics.
And that's on all these too?
Everything, yep. Ceiling cloud, all of it.
Wow, it's very controlled, and for the fact that there's no rug right here.
Yeah, it's very well controlled
sweet.
without it being too dead.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
And what is this material?
This is, what do they call it? It's like a vinyl. It's like a mass-loaded vinyl. No, it's
Oh, it snaps.
It snaps together. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
So it's like a hardwood equivalent, but it's basically bulletproof.
Sure.
I'm sure you've seen it. Like so many of these studios, like you go in Blackbird, world-class studio,
Yeah.
the floors are destroyed.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I wanted something that wouldn't like get destroyed.
Let's talk about this rig here. Okay. Let's start with guitars.
Okay.
What are some of the things you'll reach for?
Yeah.
And
So
why?
one of the reasons why we would double track a guitar in a production is the more different you can make something sound when you pan it left and right, the bigger the whole thing is. So I follow that through everything. So like it's real common, especially for the kind of music I work on, it'll be real common to do like a humbucker guitar like this iconic, and then double it with a Telecaster guitar. Or be real common to do like a Les Paul thing with a Telecaster and then pan those left and right. And then I follow that through kind of all the way through the process. So I will very commonly use 2 different amps with different pedals through different mic preamps to try to make it as differently as I possibly can when I'm tracking. But outside of that concept, it's literally just what is the sound that I have in my head, and what tools do I need to use to get that sound out the speaker.
Do you have a particular make of guitar that you really,
So yeah, I'm super into these iconic guitars. I work with these guys pretty closely on a bunch of different stuff, and they're just so good. Like they sound so good, they play so good.
Yeah, this feels pretty nice.
Yeah,
Where are they based?
California. That one in particular gets used more than any other guitar.
Wow, it feels great.
I played that one at NAMM, and you know how NAMM is, it's so incredibly loud.
Yeah.
But I picked that up, and the way that it resonated, I was like, oh, this is special.
It's heavy.
Yeah, that's pretty much Guitar World, and then same thing with pedals and the amps. Just all what is the sound in my head, and how do I get that sound out of the speaker, and everything gets used all over the place. I'm a big fan of these Lauren Audio pedals up here. These are absolutely awesome. This one is actually a point-to-point hand-wired 1073 circuit, Neve 1073 circuit. I wish I could pull that off, but it's literally all point-to-point hand-wired. They made that just for me, and it was really kind of them to do that.
Wow.
That's absolutely incredible. Same company here, they're getting into the 500 series game. That's a point-to-point hand-wired 500 preamp. That's a prototype, and I think they're getting really close to releasing the production of that.
What's the name of the company?
Lauren Audio. But no, they make seriously killer stuff, and I use their stuff on tons of songs.
Okay, and then you have, what is this amp?
So this is a Third Power Citizen Gain CSR. Unfortunately, this particular one is not in production anymore, but I did all the development on this with them. I was at the factory the whole time they were developing this, and we were picking out resistors and transistors, and so I was heavily involved in the design of this one.
Citizen Gain. I like that.
It rips. It's fantastic. And then this one's a Friedman Small Box 50. This is the Wildwood edition, so it's got 3 channels instead of 2 channels. And it rips as well, real like hot rodded plexi JCM 800 kind of thing. It's fantastic.
I actually really romanticize having like a wonderful guitar. Like this is really fun as far as like, especially when you're putting together tracks, we have all those beautiful colors and
Totally.
And textures, even with like a handful of acoustics that are have their own sort of
and just little stuff like this acoustic is Nash tuned.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Also needs tuned.
Yeah.
But that's like
cool.
the high strings of a 12 string, really cool color to add on stuff.
All right, and then we have the wonderful, beautiful desk here. Tell me about this whole setup that you have here.
You have the same desk.
That's true. I do have the same desk.
This is a Danger Fox Genesis 24U, 24 space desk with the sidecar. And I stole this idea from you. I saw your desk and I was like, oh, I need that in my life.
Dude, I stole it from Cody at Graybox.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, they're just, Aaron's super cool and I love the desk. And I've been wanting to move to a mastering style desk for a really long time anyway.
Oh, yeah, getting it down.
Just the fact that every other setup I've ever had, I had to do this to turn a knob on a piece of hardware.
Yeah.
And like taking yourself out of the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Or I should say, being able to stay in the sweet spot for everything is awesome. And I should have moved to a mastering style desk a long time ago.
So with this setup that you have, is the day-to-day use you're tracking externally? And then like a hybrid for mixing?
Yeah, so when I'm mixing, basically this is my master bus chain and I do top-down mixing. So these are a pair of Cappy hiders. They live on my mix bus. They're mic pre's, and so the mix bus will hit those first.
What?
And mix through a pair. That's the Nashville secret. All the big dudes, not that I'm a big dude. I'm not a big dude. That's not how I mean that. But all the big dudes in Nashville are mixing through a pair of Cappy preamps. And then it goes into a Serpent SB4001, which is a like SSL style bus compressor. And then we've got a kick chain, Cappy LC40 EQ with a Cappy FC526 compressor, snare chain, which is a different EQ from Cappy and a Cappy compressor, bass guitar chain, which is another Cappy EQ and another Cappy compressor, and then a vocal EQ, which is a Cappy BT50. I really like Cappy stuff. They're not paying me, but I really like them. And so vocal chains the Cappy BT50 into the Universal Audio 1176.
Wow.
And then TubeTech LCA2B, I track vocals through this, and this lives on my parallel drum bus when I'm mixing.
So this is a stereo compressor?
Stereo compressor, yeah.
Oh, that is awesome.
It's unbelievable. Funny story, so I actually got this from Frank Filippetti.
Sorry. Just press.
I didn't know it was his when I bought it. I found out after I purchased it, and he's a really, really multi-Grammy winning producer. So I sent him a message on Facebook after I got it. And I'm like, he's never gonna reply to me. I'm a nobody. And he replied instantly, and I found out that with this compressor, he did Elton John and Barbra Streisand and James Taylor, and like a laundry list of Grammy winning records went through this compressor.
Oh, great.
Not that it's gonna help me, but it's cool that there's some mojo in it.
Dude, that is so cool.
So hybrid mixing, lots and lots of plugins in addition to the hardware, but I've chosen the hardware to do like all the heaviest lifting when I'm mixing.
So you use Pro Tools?
I use Pro Tools. This is the newest version I just updated. So
okay, so
21.6, whatever the latest one is.
So you just went to Big Sur?
Yes.
And
so
this
on
is
the
an
newest
Intel?
version, so that's an Intel Trash Can Mac Pro.
Okay.
And so this is the latest version of Big Sur, not what's the newest, Monterey? Is Monterey the newest one?
Yeah, exactly.
So this is the latest version of Big Sur with the newest version of Pro Tools. And it's really stable right now, so I'm likely gonna stay here for a very, very long time until I put a whole new rig together. So I only can justify updating so often, and because you run into glitchy stuff otherwise.
When you're mixing in the box, like what are your go-tos for like a parametric EQ? Or I'm sorry, graphic EQ.
So for a graphic EQ, I am using
Fab Filter?
Fab Filter.
Yeah.
Almost exclusively. I use Fab Filter a ton. And then I use UAD Pultex.
Yeah.
And then I will use the Plug-in Alliance SSL channels.
Oh, cool.
And then for EQs, that's pretty much it. I use this UAD Chandler Curve Bender on the mix bus on almost everything.
Dude, that thing is so good.
I use Black Box from Plug-in Alliance all the time. And then just all the rest of the Fab Filter stuff. The multiband, the compressor, True Iron. This is on every single mix.
Now, you probably already went over this, but what are these things?
Okay, so those are a pair of Coil Audio mic pre's. They're super colorful tube mic pre's. And they're just absolutely awesome on like acoustic, on guitars. They're really huge sounding and warm and
they
fat.
look so old school. I'm gonna turn it.
Do
Is
it.
gonna blow anything? Oh, that feels so good.
So that's a literal low EQ.
Okay.
And this is a negative feedback loop. So it's using the transformer to get darker and brighter, basically. So if you have something like an acoustic that's real bright and harsh, you start leaning into it this way and it just thickens and darkens everything up, but it's not an EQ. It's literally using the transformer to do that.
Wow.
Yeah, they're incredible.
Coil Audio.
Coil Audio.
Sweet.
They're a bunch of great dudes too.
And then you got the stereo radio.
So that is a
Reamp.
reamp.
Yep.
So if someone sends me DI guitars to reamp, I just come right out of that through the amps back in.
And are you coming back in through these?
Sometimes, so I use these to track bass. You know, the DIs are great, or keys.
Okay.
You track most of my vocals through this preamp. It's a Cappy VP28 Platinum.
All right.
Yeah, they're incredible. And then centerpiece, the Apollo, UAD Apollo 16 Mark II.
Yep.
I'm not baller enough to have the Mark III.
Yeah, but you have the 1176 from
And then the 1176.
Not baller enough for the Mark III, but the 1176, just chilling right in the middle.
I don't know why it took me so long to get one. Like, I've worked on so many of them and all the revisions and the plugins are on every mix, and finally it was time to get one.
Yeah, that is, I would use that. That, and to me, I'm a big, I don't have an Neve, but that 1073 pre-amp, even the clones.
Yep.
One of those puppies with that, I'm pretty confident, like, let's just run anything through it, and it's gonna be fine.
Yep.
Oh, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great. Absolutely.
This is a cool piece right here.
So a lot of people tout the CL1B as the best tube tech.
Yeah.
This is blasphemous, and I am fully aware of how blasphemous this is. This is better.
Wow.
It's absolutely
it's
better.
tube.
Well, not just because it's tube, but the CL1B is a little grabby.
Yeah.
I can slam a vocal, and I do when I'm tracking. So I'll track vocals through the VP28 Platinum, through one of the channels of the tube tech, and I'll crush a vocal with 20 dB of gain reduction while tracking, and you can't hear it. You literally can't hear it. It's kind of one of the secrets to my productions, honestly.
Okay, and then how are you using, oh wait, this is a monitor
So
control?
that's just a monitor controller. Yep.
Oh, whoa, I've never seen that before.
So output of the Apollo into the input 1.
Yeah.
And then the Focal Trio 11 BEs are on A, and then the Oratones are on B, and then C actually goes to my recorder for when I'm doing screen capture videos, when I'm doing like mix tutorials. Whoa. So I literally just turn on output C, and then that runs to that. So that way it's completely, I don't have to set up any buses in Pro Tools for my tutorial stuff. It's just right out the monitor controller.
That's nice.
It's just a Tascam. What model is this? It's a 4-channel, just hard disk recorder. My matching cables and all. See how pro I am?
Yeah, I've got some of these. That's a real flex right there.
Yep. So then I will screen capture just using QuickTime. Audio goes to that. Then I'll set my actual camera up and then just stack them all three on top of each other. And
that's nice.
Off to the races. And then patch bays, nothing super special. A couple Samson patch bays. These labels are actually from Trace Audio. They're dry erase. Dry erase labels for patch bass. Then a set of Oratone 5Cs, Focal Clear MG Pro headphones, Focal 11 Trio 11 BE monitors.
I haven't heard anything in this room yet. I want to, because after I saw your video, I jumped on the bandwagon, and they didn't have the 6s, which were gonna be better for my room, so they brought these over.
Yep.
And these were too big for my room. My room is like the size of like this part of the desk. It's so small. but it looked hilarious having them in there. But I want to hear it because this is like the proper size room for these speakers. So,
and on top of it being the proper size room, there's definitely some synergy here. Like those are the perfect speakers for this room.
Yeah, dude.
On top of them just being unbelievably incredible.
These things are fantastic. 3-way speakers, and these are 10-inch cones, right?
Those are 10 inches. Yep.
Yep. And then you have
5-inch.
And this is a 2-way speaker separate from this one.
Yeah,
literally 2 cabs.
So they've got this focus mode. So you take this foot switch down here and you just kick the foot switch and it turns off the woofer and recalibrates the tweeter and the mid-range driver to be full range. And that was the craziest thing. We had this conversation earlier. I fully expected this to be a gimmick. Yeah. I did not expect this to be awesome. And it was so awesome that after mixing on NS10s for a decade, I took them down and put them away. Oof. Which is crazy. That's a crazy thing for me to do. Yeah, so between the 2 modes on the Focals and the Auratone 5Cs, that's got me covered. And then I use the Focal. These are so ridiculous. Have you heard these before?
No, I haven't.
They're unbelievable. Unbelievable for checking low end and phase coherence, and like they're crazy, crazy good.
Why did you go with the cinder block stands?
So the stands that I had, which you can see in my Focal video, they're just way, way too tall for these.
That's right. Okay,
and so I hit up, I'm gonna leave the name out of it. I hit up a very, very prominent speaker stand maker. And their lead time was like 4 months. And I'm like, I can't wait 4 months for this. And so I just went and spent $20 on cinder blocks and to get them at the right height for the time being. And then the speakers were coupling super hard with the room. So then I got some industrial, like from Lowe's, like soft rubber floor mat, cut it up. And then ISO Acoustics sent me these pucks. And they are unreal. So it went from like, concrete blocks on their own, not very usable. Concrete blocks with a couple layers of isolation.
So you put the rubber underneath the cinder blocks and on top
and pucks on top of that.
Nice.
And so there's zero.
Like they're floating,
Yeah, they're floating.
That's cool.
Yep.
That is such a great height too.
Yeah, I just tried my best to get them like the perfect height.
This feels so nice. Like
Thanks,
the combination of obviously the size of the space. I mean, it's the whole thing, but the big giant window, natural light, taking up a lot of that it's gotta just make the work day
so much easier.
Oh my God. When you're in a dark cutoff, small thing and you're doing it versus you feel like you're not detached from reality too much.
And I was really worried about what that would mean, but we're at the end of a cul-de-sac. There's like zero traffic. I don't really have any noise issues with the window. And again, back to the construction, that was one of the things. Obviously, those windows were included with the studio or with the house build.
Right.
And I just knew that if they weren't gonna work after I got in here, we'd just do a soundproof window afterwards, and we never needed to, so.
These brick things?
The rock.
Did you add that like over drywall?
Yep.
So this was just drywall and a normal window?
Yeah, so the whole room was just drywall. It was just painted like a finish, just a normal room.
Was it so live before?
Bro, okay. Not trying to get you all to go watch my channel, but go look at my studio build video and look at some of the comments. People were, it was so reverby. People were accusing me of putting reverb on my voice to make it seem worse than, no, it was like, bah!
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy. It was unreal. So much so that we got the keys and I came in here and I strummed a few chords on the acoustic and I'm like, I've made an enormous mistake and this is not gonna work.
Yeah.
And it worked out awesome, so.
Okay, well that's great. Okay, so I just built an 8x11 cloud.
Yeah.
And then mineral floor to ceiling.
Just 100% treatment.
Almost all the way around the room. Dang, that's cool. So did you build the frames for the panels yourself?
It's just a track that gets stapled on the wall and it comes in like 4-foot sections. And the track was from fabricwall.com, I think. And so you literally just do the layout and you use like an air stapler and staple it on.
Really?
And then you just put the treatment in there, like especially on the flat walls. There's not even anything in there. You just push it in there. And then you just stretch the fabric out and it comes with this little pizza roller looking thing.
Whoa.
And you just go dunk, 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 and stretch the fabric in. If you're gonna do a big chunk of footage, like if you're gonna do a lot of coverage, it's cheaper, it's easier, it's better.
Than buying a bunch of overpriced wood?
Yep, yes, yeah. It's absolutely the way to go.
Oh, dude. I'm so excited now. That's
great. That's what all the My goal with this room was it had to look as good as any other studio. So
Yeah,
you go in like Blackbird or somewhere, I wanted that same thing, and this is what they all use. So, and the weirdest thing about the fabric wall acoustic treatment is it's so hard to find anything out about it. You can't figure out where to buy it. You can't figure out how to install it. And so I did my best to like document all that, so that way there was some resources out there.
Cool.
So.
And what kind of fabric did you go with? Did you go full Guilford of Maine?
Yep, Guilford of Maine.
Is it worth it?
I don't know. It's the only time I've ever done it. I think you should absolutely, if you're going to do fabric wall, you should absolutely do fabric that's meant for a fabric wall, because there is a certain amount of stretch to it.
Yeah.
But the fabric is really high quality for sure.
That's nice.
It also is not cheap.
Yeah.
The fabric was the most expensive
$18 a yard, I believe. Right?
18 or 20, yeah. Yeah, it was a chunk. But I did it all myself, and so, you know, it's not nearly as much as you would think it would be.
And so there's nothing on the ceiling, that's still drywall up above the cloud?
Above the cloud is just drywall, yeah. Yep. And so built the cloud myself. The cloud was made out of wood, like 1x, and put all the wiring in it. And it's all 8-pound mineral wool as well.
This thing.
This thing.
Come back around here, you gotta check this out.
So that.
Custom made?
I made that myself. So when I moved here to Nashville, right before I moved, I knew that I was gonna end up in an apartment. And I knew that I couldn't stop playing guitar, and I knew that I didn't, keep in mind, this was like 2014.
Okay.
So like direct and amp simulators was not where they are now.
Yeah.
And so my thought was I have to build an ISO cab that fits through the door of a bedroom apartment that is the quietest thing anyone's ever heard. Inside this it's a 2-cabinet design, and basically it is by an enormous percentage the quietest ISO cab. You can't buy one any quieter, that's for sure. So it's over 65 dB deadening.
Oh my God.
Ugh. And so, make sure I don't knock those over.
Whoa. Okay, so it's suspended?
Yeah, so this is completely suspended on rubber straps.
John is loving this.
And then, inside of that.
Oh yeah.
So basically what I did is I was like, how big of a cabinet can I make while suspending it, while still fitting the outside through a door? So this is 12-ply birch, tons of treatment, Biodynamic M201 and a Royer R121, whole rack of Weber speakers. And then it's suspended on rubber straps with a bunch of insulation in here. And then the cabinet itself is made out of 3/4-inch plywood, green glue, 5/8 drywall, green glue, 3/4-inch plywood, and then Fender style Tolex over the top of it. And it's like, I'll turn those amps all the way up and you can barely hear it. It's crazy.
Yeah, the suspended air floating thing, that is amazing.
And so then when we moved here, I don't need it anymore necessarily now that I'm in this studio.
Yeah.
But the best sounding guitars I've ever done in my whole career have come out of this box, so I'm like, I'm just gonna keep using it.
That's so awesome. How do you plug into it? There's like
there's cables right down on that side. There's a couple XLRs and a speaker cable.
Yeah.
Jacks that are all epoxied in, so that way the least amount of sound escapes as possible.
You showed me the mics for the guitars. What are some of the other mics you're using, either for acoustic or for vocals?
Yeah, so I got a pair of Neumann KM184s that are in the box that I use for pretty much all acoustic stuff. Any acoustic instruments, those are awesome. For vocal mics, Manley reference cardioid is become like, I've only used it, I've only had it a few weeks, and it has been the go-to on every single person so far. It's unreal. I did not expect it to be that good. So the shock mount only mounts directly in the back. So the Manley comes with this swivel, so that way the microphone isn't like this, or you don't have to have a crazy stand. And then I use the Bronner Panthera for a bunch of stuff, the Dave Perlman TM47, and the trusty old SM7B. And those are pretty much the go-tos. They all kind of stay out and live on the stands, so that way I can swap between them if I need to real quick.
Nice.
But yeah, that's pretty much the jam, and then shelf there with the power supplies. Separate fan and power supply for the Neumanns. That's made by Coil Audio, same company that makes the preamps. I don't know that fan and power has a sound to it, but it's a great box. Power
supply on a shelf that also holds the cases for the mics. That's a thing.
And all the mic cables stay hung up there.
Oh, that's great.
I try to keep stuff as streamlined. And same, the shelf on the other side has all the speakers for the ISO cabinet on it. And then the other shelf back there has the hard drives and the computers and all the network stuff on it. So I try to keep everything nice and tidy.
And then you do your YouTube stuff over here.
Yeah.
Colt has an amazing YouTube channel where he actually gives useful advice on music production. If you guys want to check that out, I will link it down below.
Useful.
And so you have a much better system than I have at my house. You got a separate space for making videos. I know I don't know who cares about the making videos side of it, but for nerds like me, you, this is awesome.
Yeah, so separate space with a top-down shot, an aperture 120D, and the camera.
I mean, the stands.
Yeah,
it
definitely makes it easier. A couple of foam core boards for product stuff if I need to do actual product shots.
Yeah, you're good with the photography.
Thanks,
and the
man.
product stuff. I love that.
Thank you.
So this is like the main space, but you have another space that you just finished, is that right?
I just finished it, yeah. No one's even seen it yet. I've not even posted it on Instagram yet.
All right, let's go check it out.
So this is a little lounge area. Got a little wet bar, coffee, whiskey.
Yes.
Some refreshments.
Oh, nice.
Beer and energy drinks and water and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, this is everything. All right, so we got the K-Cups.
Got the K-Cups. I'm too snobby for that. Let me go on record real quick.
Yeah.
But the Keurig thing is not my jam. But a lot of people, they don't care.
Yeah.
They just need some go juice.
Yeah.
I'm not that person. So for me, it's espresso machine, pour over, Chemex.
It's so nice to have this, and you don't have to go in the kitchen, like into the house.
The goal with this space was to keep everything completely separate, so that way everyone could do everything up here and it was completely comfortable.
Yeah. Bathroom back there.
Bathroom back there, little lounge area, little couch and TV area, and then bathroom there, and then here is a little workbench with my charging wall for all the camera batteries and the microphones and the gimbal and the lights and everything gets charged here, and change guitar strings here. And
does that fold down?
Yeah, sure does.
What's in there, the attic?
That's the attic, yep.
Oh, that's so nice as a doorway.
Yep.
That's awesome, dude.
Good, useful space. I tried to maximize the amount of space in here.
Thank you for having me over. It's so cool to finally get together and steal more of your ideas and implement them in my place. And this room is really amazing. I'll put all of Colt's stuff down in the description. If you're not subscribed, go subscribe to his channel. Check out all of his work he does. He has a very cool Instagram as well. In the meantime, I want to hear these speakers and the guitar stuff.
Absolutely.
So we're going to do that. Goodbye, everyone.
Like and subscribe.